Hey, hey, welcome to What's Spinning podcast. This is our new thing. I'm Oscars
And
and I'm with.
Ryan O'Donnell. And we just want to ask you now, Oscars, you came up with this title, What's Spinning? So do you want to give us a little insight to why you came up with this name, What's Spinning?
So there is no typo in the
There's
title, but
not. That's how you
there's,
spell what? I've been spelling
that's
it wrong my whole life.
yeah. You mean no? That's obviously from one of my heroes, Alan Watts. And that's how we came up because this is going to be a podcast about everything that's spinning around us, everything that's happening, and and some philosophy from us. So why not what's spinning?
Yeah, because we spend a lot of our sessions, because we do, for those who don't know, Oscar's actually a life coach, and he's a life coach associated with Team 651. And I've had the pleasure of working with him. And we have these kind of conversations, and we thought it would be a good idea to have a podcast because the conversations do end up being very deep, let's say. And I feel like a lot of people will benefit from them, especially poker players, because we are both poker players as well. Alan Watts is right behind you, right? That's him there on your wall.
Yes, it is.
And that's a bunch of his quotes that are.
Exactly.
And you have a quote for us today, don't you?
We have a quote from Al Watts, and I like it a lot, and I try to live by it. So the quote is: "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance."
Move with it and join the dance.
And join the dance.
Okay. So elaborate on what that means.
So when something happens in your life, uh, like a downswing or like an upswing, you can't do much about it. It happened, so you enjoy what is happening. If the downswing is happening, you try to make the best out of it. You study more. You embrace the pain. Whatever comes into that, you don't try to say like, "Oh, that it's not happening." You don't try to ignore what's happening or avoid your surroundings. You
So
join.
you embrace the negativity and you can find silver linings, for example. And
Exactly.
so how good you are at moving around the negative is how good you are as a dancer. Same way if the beat changed, if you're a good dancer, you quickly change your little move there, right? You quickly
Exactly.
you move with the tempo of the world.
One
And
of the biggest things that happens now, I think a lot of poker players will be able to relate, is the stock market crash,
yeah,
crypto
right.
crash.
Yeah,
It's
massive.
it's it's massive and it affects us a lot. But
It's wiping me out personally. Like it's a big tidal.
so your choice now is either you get crushed and burned and sink into depression, or you join the dance. You had zero effect on that happening. Obviously, you could have make
You
your
could
final
sell.
choices,
Yeah,
but
you can make better choices in not buying
but
Ponzi
it would
scheme
happen
Bitcoin.
anyway. But like stock market and crypto market would crash anyway, and we didn't expect it. Some did, some didn't. And how you are joining the dance? How you mentioned you getting
Yes,
crushed.
so I was joking about Ponzi scheme Bitcoin, but there are a lot of Ponzi schemes out there in the world, and that's in the crypto space and in the market. But so I made that joke there. I don't want to offend anyone. I know how Bitcoin can be very, very. Some people are very like cling on to it, so I don't want to offend anyone with my Bitcoin joke there. But yeah, I
But there will
personally
be a lot of controversial things in our
there
podcast,
will
like
be. Hopefully, there will be. I like controversial things, especially when we have a world where there are a lot of new norms, and that contradicts a lot of the way that the world has been for so long.
yes.
Um, so yeah, my experience of the stock market. Well, I'm down. I think now it's going to be over six, maybe closer to 70% of my position. I had at one point pretty much my entire net worth in the stock market. So as you can imagine, 70% of my net worth has wiped out. Now I can choose to, like you say, go down a rabbit hole of being depressed, or I can embrace that this is happening and how do I embrace? So you might say like, I'm on the biggest downswing. What does it even matter? For example, I'm talking about a good few 100,000 gone. Um, is there any point of me even working, right? That's a question that's come into my mind because it's just gonna go, right? And obviously there's a flawed thinking, and what my approach that I've taken to it, and I've chosen to take to it, and it is a choice, is is that this is actually the best thing that could happen. And why do I say that? Because when I look back at my life, every bad thing that I thought was the worst possible thing that could happen to me, when I look back on it, my life's great, right? So that was part of how I became who I am, and if I enjoy who I am, then anytime these negative things come, instead of seeing them as a negative thing, seeing them as an opportunity to fix, change, or adapt the way that I'm living to a more positive one for the long run, is going to be good. So what I've chosen to do is start my YouTube channel, make more content, focus on coaching a bit more, taking on a few more students, and just work harder on my grind ethics, learning how to play cash games, higher stakes, so I can move up stakes and stuff like that in the future. So getting my skill sets together in these bad times, so I can ride through, hopefully, uh, more positive long run results. And that wouldn't have come into existence had I not been on a massive downswing from the equity markets crashing. And so it's given me the opportunity to work on myself that I potentially wouldn't have done had everything been hunky dory, continue going up, because eventually we are going to have a crash, and how extreme they are is always going to be different. But this to me is the most extreme that I could imagine, and it's probably going to get more extreme given that it doesn't look like anything's changing anytime soon. That now I get to work on myself to become a better version of myself, a more harder worker version of myself, and in the long run, I likely, as long as I see it through, will do better financially because the downswing happened, and hopefully in 10 years I'm going to be very happy that this crash has happened.
And probably you will not put close to 100% of your net worth into risky
Risky
stock.
stocks, right? So I've got to learn. I've got to learn for when I'm a higher net worth individual that what inflation does to stocks. I've got to learn what printing money does to stocks. I've got to learn what does to growth markets and dividend markets and value markets. I've got to learn what these impacts have. I could have looked at other inflationary periods and seen what happened to growth stocks, and that would have been a lot of hard work. And I wish I had done that. Right, this due diligence that I should have done before putting my net worth on the line. But it was growth stocks were doing so well for so long that through my sample size of my lifetime, I've always regretted not having money in growth stocks, and so I decided to get money in growth stocks at the worst possible time, and it's a lesson I get to learn, and every lesson that you get to learn now, if I'm a higher net worth individual at some point, I'm going to do a lot better if this was to ever happen again. Whereas if this hadn't happened, I might be overexposed to growth stocks and have a lot higher net worth, and then lose 70% of my net worth, and that would be obviously a lot more detrimental to myself, because now we're talking about a good few 100,000 down to a few 100,000 doesn't change my ability to do anything that I could do before, other than maybe like buy a bigger house. It was nothing I was looking to do anyway. It wasn't something I was looking to do. So my financial situation, although changed massively, hasn't stopped me from being able to do anything I want to do. I can still go on any holiday I want to go on. I can go see any show I want to go see. I can take any day off I want to take the day off. I can be there for my family as much as I want to do. I can give them all the opportunities that I could give them with my previous figure. So nothing's actually changed. But whereas if it was a few million now and it went down to a few 100,000 now, that is substantially different. And now I get to learn these lessons, right? So I get to see it as a positive that this worst case scenario is playing out.
Yeah, that's shifting your focus. But the main part from the quote is like, don't dwell that you made a bad choice. You joined the dance. You joined what happened.
Yeah,
and
right.
say,
Yeah, like I tried to move, and I fell on my face. Do
yeah,
I get off the dance floor and say, "Oh, look at me, I'm the worst dancer in the world," or I say, "I'm learning how to dance, and I quite like the groove. I just need to slow it down a little bit, or I need to adapt a little bit to the pace of the dance," and so that has allowed me to do that, and so I get to embrace the dance of potentially the worst song to come on, but now I'm starting to enjoy the song. It's not as bad as I thought it was.
that's the thing. Like that's the only song that is happening at the moment. Either you can sit somewhere in a corner and cry about it, or you can
Yeah,
enjoy and dance and
yeah,
see what you can do with it.
yeah.
What else is spinning in the world at the moment?
There's something crazily spinning, and it's a man called Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate has got a lot of. I didn't even know who Andrew Tate was.
Okay, first question I want to ask you is how you got introduced to him.
I got introduced to him by just a YouTube algorithm. I guess it was because if in Kanye West, I got tuned into a few of Kanye West's controversial conversations. I just wanted to hear what was going on there. And then I got recommended some Andrew Tate stuff, and I had never heard of the guy. I mean, I'd heard the name, but I had never saw who he was and heard any of his philosophies or any of his statements. And I came across some shorts, and I think he's an intriguing person. I've done a little bit of research on him because I wanted to have an opinion on him. I do believe that he's built his career off potentially some fraudulent activity. Apparently, his course that he teaches on becoming financially free teaches to set up companies that sell stuff that don't actually sell stuff to get money to start other companies. So, my opinion on him is not very positive in terms of like what he's teaching to the world, but in terms of his statements that he makes that become very controversial, I think that there's some very interesting ones, and I've got one here, so I'm just gonna get it up.
Since we want to in this podcast touch a lot of topics, and mental health will definitely be one of the topics that we will touch more often than others. Let's take one controversial quote from Andrew Tate, not
Okay.
Elon Musk this time. And you got a video, right?
Yeah.
My point is that a lot of people who are clinically depressed are suffering with something in their life, and if you fix the problem in their life, perhaps they won't feel depressed anymore. That's not a disease.
Yeah, but Andrew,
that's situational.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers,
That's what I believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers,
that would agree with you.
Piers,
do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
You want to go first, or I go first?
Well, I think we actually spoke about depression and mental illness in one of our sessions, and you said that you don't actually believe also. So you actually had a very similar view to him, and it opened my eyes to this because I'd never even considered it. So maybe you should talk about how you view it.
Yeah, what they are talking about is a clinical depression. But what we get to talk about more, like what we face in the world more, is just the word depression. And in that one, I would agree with Andrew Tate. I don't believe in it because a lot of people just take it as a label and make it as an excuse to not get the work done. I think it's the disease is that people are taking that word too seriously and making it stop themselves.
So what we're saying here is that you make a choice to say that there's this thing called depression that exists, and there's a word, and when we're feeling down, some people are saying I'm depressed, so therefore I cannot act or I cannot do, and it gives them a reason for why they haven't managed to push forward through the quote unquote depression. Whereas if you don't believe in depression, then you you potentially can have like an easier way because you don't have a reason to why you're not doing well, and you hold yourself accountable for your decisions and actions that you've made, and you then fight to make it better because you're accountable for how your life turns out, and not using any excuse such as a mental illness that some people believe exists or some people don't, clearly.
Yeah, remember we used an example of two, let's say, poker players have a worst dancing ever for like month or 3 or whatever. Now they are sitting home for a week, can't get themselves together. One goes to doctor, like both, let's call both goes to doctor. One says like it's just a grieving period, like it's normal for human, and other one gets labeled with depression.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is likelier to get his shit together sooner?
Yeah, right. Like in this example, the person that has just been told they're going through a grieving period is going to be like, okay, well, the doctor didn't say I was depressed, just said I was grieving, so I need to get my stuff together because, like, at the end of the day, I don't have any excuse, right? So and then the person that's going through the exact same thing, the doctor's decided to label him as depressed. He might take a month or something off because he's been told to rest, because apparently a big part of being depressed is resting.
Like, the biggest thing is it's hard to get yourself going again, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you have that huge label on you. It's like, I could start today, like getting shit done, but I have a depression. I need serious
this
help.
time. I need this time. And even some people go onto medication, right? And those medications can have far worse effects on a person's brain. I've seen people that have taken some of these medications and they're never the same again after the medication. It's like they're very different. So some of these medications can, and some people get addicted to the medications as well. So that's another problem that can become.
But I would agree that some people can't live without them. Like clinical depression, I think is like, I still believe it's real, and there is cases where that's the only way to like survive.
Yeah, because they might kill themselves or something without the medication, right?
Yeah, but the large number of people who accept the label of depression, they don't have, like, they have a choice of depression.
They could choose to look at the situation different, but they are getting caught up. So they're allowing negative thoughts into their brain, because we have thoughts going through all the time, right? Even the most positive person in the world will have some random thoughts, but he doesn't fixate on them, and he says, well, that's just a random thought. This is how I want to be, and he chooses the more positive thoughts that he can choose.
And that's the thing with the same two guys, is like, they experienced exactly the same thing, and one will live his life as like a person who had the depression, and one will live his life like, I had a bad week after the downswing, but I got my shit together, and now it's I'm ready to again.
So the pushback from some people might be, you don't know, like you don't know what's going on in my brain, and he didn't get diagnosed with depression because he wasn't depressed and I did, so I must be depressed, right? So what about someone that just says you don't understand and that you don't know how hard it is for me? Like, do you think statements like this could almost push them to be maybe more dangerous to themselves because we're now not accepting their excuse?
When you say about like, you don't understand me, bro, I can hear in my head David Goggins. I don't know how familiar you are with David Goggins.
No, I don't know.
He has a like very good video about it as well. But we will not bring it up. It's like,
well, we can if you want.
No, maybe for the, like, if we come across to this again, or one of our guests say like, you don't understand me, then I will bring it up.
Okay.
Because he basically, what he says is like a lot of people understand you, like a lot of people going through shit. It's like we all have shit like inside, like we have problems. Like there's very little a small amount of people going around the world without any problems. And another thing is, like, someone who has a huge market crash and someone who lost like a car which costed like 3K, they still have that problem that happened to them is massive to them.
Yeah, like that's like I have a friend that's going through the exact same thing. He just literally crashed his car. It was everything to him. Now the car was worth a few grand. He actually managed to make half of it was £8,000 car it was worth or something like that. Half of that money he got written off because of the crash, and so he lost a total of £4,000. And he was more depressed or more down about this happening than I feel like I went going through this entire crash of 70% of a large sum. And because it was everything to him, although his is much easier replaced in terms of he works and makes enough money to replace it, I don't make enough money to replace my downswing. So it would take me many years to replace, whereas his he could replace in a couple of months. But it got him down further than it got me down.
That is the thing, that shit that happens to you is like, it's as important as like
it could be anything, right? It could be your ice cream fell off your thing and you fell on the floor and now you're down about it because you wanted that ice cream and you let it get to you, right? It can be as simple as that.
For a kid,
right? Yeah, for a kid. Explain to a kid, yeah. Yeah, right?
We both fathers, so we know how it is.
Yeah, and so then you'll laugh at that kid and be like, what are you talking about? I can just go get another one. The same way, like, you can say to your friend, what are you talking about? You can go get another one in 2 months after working a little bit. Or you can go to the bank and potentially get a loan and they'll give you another one if you need one right now. That you can replace things. So there's no point in getting down about those things, but some people do. And this is the point of this. Like
the point is everybody is going through shit, and how you deal with it is up to you.
I think the word problem is an interesting word because problems don't have to be negative, but the word problem sounds so negative because like even like the song I got 99 problems but one, yeah, I don't think he's talking about 99 bad problems. I think he's talking about 99 very good problems because he's like financially getting rich. He's got like all these problems that you have to like, where do I allocate this money? What do I do? Like these are all problems that you need to solve. They're not.
As a poker players, we face problems. Like every flop is a problem.
Every flop is a bloody problem. Yeah, especially when you're holding jacks. Every single flop's a problem with jacks. Unless there's a 9-5-2, and even then they're gonna have a set half the time. But if you're getting action, so like, yeah, like we've got problems all the time. Whether we allocate that as a negative or positive thing is again. So I do think there's a problem with the word problem because it's got a negative connotation around it, and
with words itself, like we give too big of a meaning to words.
Yeah, like because they are just words, and
it's just the letters
put together, and we've made words. Yeah.
And and another thing is like when we say like such strong word like depression or love is a great example. What I mean by that word and what you understand by that word is a completely two different things.
Yeah, it's
unless we live like exactly the same lives, but even then it could be like very, very different depending on the mood you are at the moment.
Yeah, it's completely different. Like I was actually speaking to my friend last night about love because we saw something where a woman fell in love with her best friend's boyfriend, and he said that could never happen to me, and I said that could never happen to me either, and then we actually had a conversation about love, and so it's interesting you brought it up. It was about like, so I believe love is a choice where you choose to build a partnership with someone. It's like a contract when you go into business almost, but it's a bit more romantic than that. And you now build on that, and you now have someone that you truly trust. You it doesn't matter what they do, you'll be beside them because you've chosen to love this person. And then it gets onto unconditional love where it doesn't matter what they do at all, you'll always love them. Maybe you might not always be able to be with someone, but you can always love them because you've chosen to have this. Whereas he said, whoa, so what about something like love at first sight? And I said, well, that's just fancy. That's just lusting over someone. That's just fixating on someone that you saw, right? And then you might then choose that that's the person that you love, and you make all those dedications to that person as long as it's reciprocated, right? Because you need two people to be in the same place for love to kind of work. And so that's my beliefs in love. But other people believe in love at first sight, and they spark, and there's nothing the world could do because they love each other, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. Like love at first sight is a very interesting thing. I think it's a weird topic to talk about because for some it really feels like it, and for others it's like it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, right. Like for me, it doesn't make sense at all. But my girlfriend will say she fell in love with me at first sight. But I believe I fell in love with the idea of loving her at first sight. I saw that I could love her when I first met her. I saw all the qualities of someone that I'm looking to love, and so I made the choice to pursue that. But how many times has somebody thought they love someone because they fancy them, and then they never saw them again, and their life didn't get ruined, and they never even thought about them again, maybe after a week or something. They just like they didn't even exist again, right? So because they didn't, it wasn't a mutual thing, and they didn't pursue it together.
I think fairy tales and movies did this to us.
Yeah.
It just sounds so great. You see someone and you fall in love and you live
sparks
together
and-
forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's because we change. Like let's say you fall in love with someone at the first sight. That person will not be the same like 5 years from now.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. So now you have to make a choice that you're gonna love them no matter who they become, because that's what true like unconditional love is. Like I said, you might not be able to be with that person, but you can still love that person. And I know we're definitely going off topic here.
Yeah, how we got to love. I
We're
don't know.
dancing. We're dancing with life. This is the quote, though. We're dancing with wherever the conversation goes. We're going with it. And this is what Alan Watts' quote is. Again, could you say the quote again, because I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure we'll have it on the edits.
You want me to say it again, or
Yes, please.
the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance.
There we go. Yeah, they said well. Okay, so what else? So
What do you want out of this podcast in general? What's your goal from it?
So my personal goal is that I enjoy our conversations, and I wanted the world to see like some of our conversations, because I really enjoy them. I feel like they benefit me. Maybe not like. I think it just benefits me almost the same way like a counseling session can benefit someone, but the way that we go down some of these tangents in our talks, it makes things clearer for me and gives me a kind of a road in life. Whenever I'm stuck in a situation, I can kind of recall, like if I'm feeling depressed, I can say, well, depression, that doesn't exist to me anyway. And so I'm not going to be depressed. I'm going to do something about it, and I'm going to make this a better situation. And there is so many situations in life where I could have easily gone down the road and said I'm depressed. And actually, when I was young, something traumatic happened to me, and I spent 4 years in and out of feeling depressed. And then later on, after my grievance was done on that situation, I am now able to see that I didn't need to. I actually could have changed and it was actually a day where I used to always say, why me, why did this have to happen to me? It was this question of saying, why did this have to happen to me?
That's a disease. Like that.
Yeah.
Why me is a disease.
Why me was a big disease. For 4 years, it was why me. Then one day I did a painting of why, and I had it on my wall. That's how bad this depression of this why situation happened. And I looked at it and I said, why not me? Why not am I the person that this bad thing happened to? Why does it have to happen? It has to happen to someone, right? Like these things don't exist without it happening to someone. So why wasn't I the one that had to experience this horrible trauma? So now it's like, am I so selfish that I think that it should happen to other people but not me? And then I decided, like, who am I to complain about this? Because this is massively traumatic to me, potentially to everyone that I know. But in the world, it's nothing. In the world, what I went through it's really, it's so minuscule. And then when I decided to say, why not me to go through something traumatic, it really just lifted and freed me from it. So I was on this kind of journey of learning this kind of, it's a choice of how you look at it. And before I met you, and before I was playing poker throughout this period actually, but it allowed me to, it kind of freed me from diagnosing myself with depression, etc., etc.
Yeah. What people can wait from these conversations? What's in future?
I think it's going to be whatever's spinning in the world, right? Whatever's spinning, we're going to spin something up, and we're going to hit. And if you guys have any questions where you'd like to hear our insights on things, please do hit them up in the comments, and we will try to address them. And I do look forward to one where you and I might not see eye to eye, because most of the things we do kind of.
I know at least one topic where we will have some.
Yeah, that's good, right? So we have some.
Yeah, but we will not always be just two of us. There will be guests, right?
There's going to be guests, and there's also places to hang out with our friends, and also hopefully get some people that are not in even Team 651, but we do want some Team 651 members to come on. But yeah, some people outside of Team 651 also welcome to come on, and so I don't actually have anything that I actually truly want to come out of this, other than potentially helping people with the ways that we think and overcome situations in life that maybe potentially people are having a super hard time with, and it's potentially ruining their potential in life.
Sounds good.
And yourself, what would you like to get out of it?
I just like to talk, and I love conversations. I like to dance. I like to dance
to the world.
Yeah, and if I can speak some. Talk about some philosophy, Alan Watts, I will be there.
Nice. Okay, cool. So yeah, if you are not subscribed, please do subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode.
Yeah. See you in 2 weeks.